the difference between startups and small businesses. In our case, we are building a startup, and the difference between a startup and a small business is growth potential. So small businesses are just your usual the small business that you're used to. But then when you're building a startup, you're building something with the hope that it will grow rapidly and that it will be scalable. By that we mean you can replicate the model in other markets. So for example, I can start off in Zimbabwe and I can easily do that in South Africa, the neighboring countries, and even the US without much of a hassle. And then the next thing that determines the difference between a startup and a small business is innovation. So startups bring innovative solutions to the market. So you're trying to bring something new, not the usual thing that everyone is used to. And then in most cases, startups seek venture capital or angel investment. That's because it takes a while for the idea to work, and you need quite a lot of money to bring it to fruition. So what usually happens is that African founders face the challenge of you're trying to balance between life and building a startup, and oftentimes life will win, and so you can't do that. But then what this venture capital or angel funding does is that it gives you the room, the leeway to actually focus on your business and give it your all instead of doing it as a hobby. Because I think for most startup founders, if you talk to African startup founders, most of them will tell you that people treat it as more of a hobby. And then the next thing that determines the difference between startups and a small business is the risk and the reward. So there's a higher risk associated with startups. So it might work or it can go horribly bad, but the rewards are higher if it goes very well. And then the next thing is the time to profitability. So startups may take years to become profitable because you're trying to build something that will be scalable and all that. And what that involves is you try one thing and then it doesn't work. You try another thing, it doesn't work, and then until you eventually get it right. Most of the time, you're looking for something called product market fit. So I just felt I needed to explain the difference between a startup and a small business because oftentimes people confuse the two. And I think even here where I live in Zimbabwe, there's that confusion. So even when it comes to programs, we do not really have startup funding. What we have is small business funding. So you find that they've got programs whereby they give you a loan for say 5,000, but you can't really do much with 5,000. And most of the time they require you to pay that within 6 months. And what that means is that you get the 5,000 today and then you need to start making money by the end of this month. Whereas if you're building a startup, it might take you some time. Remember, we talked about needing an audience, and for you to get a sizable audience that can actually be profitable, in some cases it takes months and maybe even years.
We're building Africa's next tech unicorn.